What's happening? It's your girl Mercedes Eileen. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna try to make it quick because my baby is asleep and I'm not gonna get done with this video if she's not asleep. As you can see by the title, today's video is about how I beat depression and how you can too. Before we get deep into this video, if you're new and you like self-help, self-improvement, real life, go ahead and subscribe right now. And if you're returning, thank you so much for tuning in. I know I've been gone for a long time, but anyway, yeah, let's get into it. So my first encounter with depression was probably 2018. I didn't really have a reason to be depressed. I just felt depressed for no reason. Like that's what I remember of it. It might have been a reason at the time and I just didn't know. But it was like a light depression, like a functioning depression. I was still doing a bunch of things. I was going to school, doing college classes. At that time, I was in high school. I had 2 jobs at one point. Like, I was going. I had a boyfriend. I was living with my family, and it was like a full house of people. Like, my life was, like, all the space in my life was taken up at that time. But I do remember thinking, like, am I depressed? Like, I don't know. I just felt this sad feeling. I don't know. And then my next encounter with depression was 2020, when me and the person that I was dating at the time broke up. It lasted about 2 years and I was really attached to that relationship and it really brought me down. That was my first deep depression where I wanted to unalive myself. About 8 months after that, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which made a lot of sense because I would go time with being depressed and then I wouldn't be depressed and I'd feel happy, which the happiness I thought was just me feeling excited about life, but really it was mania. But this video is not about bipolar depression. I'll probably make one. Bipolar depression. I said bipolar depression. Bipolar disorder, which really they're the same thing. But this video isn't about that, so I'll go deeper into that in another video. Actually, if you do want me to go deeper into that, go ahead and comment down below and I will do it. I'll probably do it anyway, honestly, but yeah. So yeah, I found out I had bipolar disorder. So ever since then, I've been struggling on and off with depression. Before we even get into this video, I don't want you thinking that I'm a doctor. I'm not. This is just my experience and what I found out about depression when it comes to me and, you know, how I've been beating it as of lately. Because before I did not know how to beat it, I was basically depressed for like 2 years. Like depression, anxiety, all of those feelings. I also have generalized anxiety disorder as well. And, you know, a lot of times people think that those mental illnesses are a choice. Like people think that having anxiety is a choice, having depression is a choice, when to a certain extent it is, but to a certain extent it's not. Like some people it's just more, that's the way they grew up, like they saw other people be depressed, or it's hereditary, like it's a chemical imbalance, but it also has a lot to do with your mind and your mindset, which we're going to get into. So what I had to realize about depression was that it was a mindset thing. And I came to that conclusion because I was on TikTok, of course, everybody be on TikTok, and I was watching a video and they were like, you're gonna have thoughts, but just because you have those thoughts does not mean that you have to listen to those thoughts. Your mind does not control you. You should have more control over your mind than your mind has over you. And I had never thought about that before. I had never just sat and realized that I was a victim to my own thinking, to my own thoughts. So once I realized that it was a choice to listen to my thoughts or not, then it made it a lot easier to accept the concept that maybe I'm depressed because of the way that I think. I used to think that my thoughts were my conscience, like telling me what to do and how to react and all of these things. So whenever I would react badly to a situation, I never thought that it was a choice. I thought that that's what I had to do because that's how my mind works and that's how I function, which is not true. You can train your mind to think differently, regardless of how depressed you are, what situation you have. I'm so sorry for the noise in the back, but what situation you have, regardless of your circumstances, people go through bad things every day and they're not depressed. Like it's possible. But also a part of that is realizing that everyone has depressive moments. Everyone has depressive thoughts. Everyone has negative thoughts. But just because you have those thoughts do not mean that they have to control your life, take over your life. You don't have to be a victim to your mind. And what happens with depression is your mind gets in this negative, neurotic, pessimistic cycle. It starts to train itself to think that way, and you get comfortable thinking that way. So then the depression keeps coming back and back and back. So this cycle, I'm not sure if this is the only cycle that exists within depression. Like, this is just my cycle and my experience. So if you can relate. If you don't, you click off this video. Maybe I'll make another video about it later and discover something different. I don't know. But this was my cycle that I was going through. So my cycle started with attachment. I would get attached to a person or a situation or an outcome of a situation, right? So with that attachment came a lot of romanticism and a lot of unrealistic expectations for or on that person or that situation or the outcome of that situation. Then, because I have unrealistic expectations, I'm expecting this person to be perfect or the situation to turn out perfect, which perfect is really just the way we want things to be, because everyone's definition of perfect can be different. So I would put unrealistic expectations on this person or situation or the outcome of the situation, and when that person let me down or that situation didn't turn out how I wanted it to turn out, I would end up disappointed, right? And remember, this is a cycle. So this is happening over and over and over again. And after a few times of being disappointed, you just expect to be disappointed. So then it becomes a limiting belief of, oh, like, everything is like this. Nothing will ever go right. Everything is negative. Everything turns out bad. Nothing turns out good. And not only that, but there are good things happening. We just can't realize it, because the deeper you get into this cycle of thinking, the more negative you are. You look at things in a negative way. Even if something does come out positive, you can find the negativity in it. And that's something that I realize that I do a lot. Like, something good can happen, but I will nitpick in the situation and find something that's wrong. And that made me a very critical person, not only of myself, but of other people. And then when the people would get tired of being criticized, or even when the people would just do something wrong to me, like, again, I have expectations of them and they do something wrong and I'm disappointed, then it would confirm the beliefs that I had about myself, the limiting beliefs that I didn't even know that I had about myself, the belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not worth staying around for, because I have a deep abandonment, like, wound. That is probably my biggest wound to this day. I have a big abandonment wound. So I would do this thing where I would be negative and push people away and not even realize it. And then they would react in the way that they react. And then it would just confirm I'm not good enough. I'm not a good person. People don't like me. I'm not worth, like, being around. I'm not an enjoyable person to be around. So with that, it just fuels even more negative thinking. And so your mind gets caught in this cycle and it's going around and around, and it's happening not just with people, like I said before, but with situations. I would have an expectation on a situation, and when it didn't go the way that I expected it to go, I would think, like, yeah, because nothing ever goes my way. Like, of course, it went the opposite way of the way that I wanted it to go, because what I want doesn't matter. I'll never be happy because bad things always happen to me. Like, this is literally how I used to think. And it wasn't too long ago that I was thinking this way, y'all. Like, I literally just found out how to beat depression for me in the past few weeks, maybe like a month, maybe a month. But even then, I would have depressive moments. Like, I would feel really depressed at moments and get so deep in a hole. And it's really hard to come out of that depressive hole when you're there. And I don't know about you or your specific depressive situation, but for me, I would get to a point of wanting to unalive myself. And so it was really dangerous. It was scary. It was risky. And not only did my mind get used to being negative, but I got comfortable in chaos. I started to feel uncomfortable when I had peace. Like I said, nitpicking at good things and finding the bad things in it instead of finding the good things in the bad. Seeing the cup as half empty versus half full. It's just so, like, I don't know, this just goes so deep. Like, I could really probably make a part 2 to this, but like, I got so comfortable with feeling a roller coaster of emotions that's what I started to feel comfortable in. So then that contributes to the cycle of thinking negatively. I'm finding something, I'm looking for something to be upset about. I'm looking for something to be pessimistic about. I'm looking for something to complain about. It's really so toxic. Like, being depressed is such a toxic cycle, and it's so unhealthy. Like I said, to an extent, it's not a choice, because some people are more likely to be depressed than others because of the way they were raised. Hereditarily, depression might run in your family. Some people are just built different than others. So in that case, it's not a choice. But to stay in depression, in my opinion, as a person who gets depressed often, it is a choice. Like, there is an option to not be depressed. And I didn't realize that until literally like probably a month and some change ago. Like, I literally just started taking accountability for the fact that I've been depressed for a couple of years because of a person. I let a person have that much control over me to where if they thought that I didn't have any worth, then I didn't think that I had any worth. And it wasn't because this person was just awesome or they did anything good, or not even that they were good to me, because they weren't, but just because they were a man. And I'm going to make a video about that. But men are put on a pedestal in general in society. So I took that and put him on a pedestal because he was a man, and I was abandoned by a man when I was younger. So I subconsciously have that lack mentality for men in particular. Like, men, good men are hard to come by, which is not necessarily an untrue statement, but that doesn't mean that you put them on a pedestal when they do nice things for you, because that doesn't make them a good man. It just doesn't. But that's just particular to my situation. So what have I done to break this cycle of depression? One of the things that I've been doing is practicing detachment, or practicing not attaching to things. Like, okay, I've already attached to certain things and I'm already in those situations are current and they're going on. But when things new come my way, or new situations come my way, I do my best not to attach myself to a certain outcome. I do my best to accept things for what they are. And for me, that's another big thing. I have a hard time accepting the things that I cannot control. A lot of it is just realizing that your worth and who you are is not dictated by another person, or an outcome, or how much you make, or what car you drive, or your circumstances in life. None of that dictates your worth as a person. None of that dictates who you are. You get to choose who you are. You are who you say you are. You are who you believe that you are. Also, I stopped romanticizing people in situations like I talked about earlier. I stopped putting unrealistic expectations on people and situations. People are imperfect. Everyone has negatives to them. Everyone has pros and cons. And no matter how good a person is, no matter how nice a person is, they have bad things about them. They have negative traits. That's just human. We are human. We are not perfect. So stop romanticizing people. And also situations, we don't have control over that. Like, especially if you're not the only person in a situation, like, you don't have control over the outcome of that situation. Something unexpected can happen, and something can come along and make things happen how they're supposed to happen, so that even better outcome that you didn't even know needed to be the outcome can be the outcome. Does that make sense? Also, a big part of coming out of the depression and building self-worth, self-love, and things of that nature is this is what I did. I wrote down the limiting beliefs that I have about myself. The things of, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not meant to be successful. If I try to be successful, I'm going to fail. Those are just like, okay, 3 random limiting beliefs about myself. Sorry for the baby noises. Okay. Sorry, she's probably going to be in the video from now on. But I wrote down those beliefs and went back. Now, I'm not saying everybody could do this because some people may not remember, but I went back and analyzed why I feel this way about myself. I wrote out things that have happened to confirm this belief about myself, and have analyzed those situations and taken accountability for how I contributed to that belief about myself. She's like, pay attention to me. Okay, but like I said, analyzing those limiting beliefs. And honestly, that's where this video stops, because that's as far as I've gotten in my battle against depression. If there's some more to it, I will definitely add a part 2 if I come up on anything else. So I'm gonna let y'all go. Have a good one and be blessed.